Story 1. The Voice in the Walls. It was a typical Tuesday morning at Riverside High School in Ohio when 16-year-old Emma heard something that made her blood run cold. The lockdown alarm echoed through the hallways. At 10:47 a.m., Emma and her classmates quickly huddled in the corner of their chemistry lab. Lights off, door locked. Their teacher, Mrs. Peterson, whispered that there was a potential intruder on campus, but as they sat in complete silence, Emma heard something impossible. A voice coming from inside the walls. "Help me. I'm trapped." Emma's heart pounded. She looked around at her classmates. 20 other students crammed into the corner. None of them were speaking. The voice was coming from somewhere else entirely. "Can anyone hear me? I've been here so long." The voice was weak, desperate, and it was getting closer. Emma raised her hand to tell Mrs. Peterson, but her teacher's face had gone white. She could hear it too. They all could. "I just want to go home, please." The scratching sounds moved along the wall, following the voice, like someone or something was crawling through the ventilation system, but the vents were too small for a person to fit through. Then the voice changed. It became different, distorted. "Why won't anyone help me? I've been calling for years." Emma's blood froze. The school was only built 5 years ago. How could someone have been trapped for years? Mrs. Peterson slowly pulled out her phone and called the main office. "We have a situation in room 24. She whispered. "There's someone in the wall." But when security checked the ventilation system after the lockdown ended, they found something that haunts Emma to this day: the bones of a construction worker who had fallen into the wall cavity during the school's construction. He had been sealed inside, forgotten, until that day when his spirit finally found its voice. The coroner estimated he'd been dead for exactly 5 years. Story 2. The Substitute. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones breaking in. They're the ones already inside, wearing a familiar face. Westfield Middle School in Texas, November 15, 2019. 12-year-old Marcus was excited because they had a substitute teacher for English class. Mr. Davidson seemed fun and energetic. But when the lockdown alarm sounded at 2:30 p.m., everything changed. As the students gathered in their designated corner, Mr. Davidson's demeanor shifted completely. His friendly smile vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. "All right, kids. New plan," he said, his voice now eerily calm. "We're not following the lockdown procedures today." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Every student knew the drill. Lights off, door locked, stay quiet until the all clear. But Mr. Davidson turned the lights back on and unlocked the door. "Mr. Davidson," whispered Sarah, a girl in the front row. "We're supposed to hide." He turned toward her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hide? From what?" "I think you misunderstood the situation." Mr. Davidson walked to the window and peered out at the parking lot. "You see, children, sometimes the real danger isn't outside trying to get in. Sometimes it's already here, waiting for the perfect moment." Marcus's hands were shaking. He pulled out his phone under his desk and texted his mom. "Something's wrong with our teacher." "Put the phone away, Marcus," Mr. Davidson said without turning around. "In fact, everyone put your phones in a pile on my desk." Now, none of the students moved. Mr. Davidson slowly turned around. "I said, now." As the students reluctantly placed their phones on the desk, Marcus noticed something terrifying. In the reflection of the window, he could see that Mr. Davidson wasn't alone. There was another figure standing behind him, a figure that cast no reflection of its own. "That's better," Davidson said. "Now we wait for the real fun to begin." But Marcus had secretly kept his phone. With trembling fingers, he managed to text the principal. "Room alert. Not real substitute. Send help." When police arrived 20 minutes later, they found the students traumatized but unharmed. Davidson was nowhere to be found. The real Mr. Davidson was discovered tied up in his apartment across town. He had no memory of who had taken his place, or how they knew every detail about his life, his teaching methods, and the school's security footage from that day shows something that still gives investigators nightmares. The substitute teacher's reflection occasionally disappears completely, leaving only empty clothes walking around the classroom. The imposter was never found. Story 3. The Final Bell. Our final story takes place at Lincoln High School in Oregon, where senior Kelly Chen learned that some lockdowns never really end. It started like any other lockdown drill, or so everyone thought. 3:15 p.m., just 15 minutes before dismissal. Kelly and her AP history class had done this routine dozens of times. Lights off, door locked, silent waiting. But this time, something felt different. After an hour of waiting, Kelly's teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, tried to call the main office. No answer. He tried his cell phone. No signal. "This is taking too long," whispered Jake from the back of the room. Mr. Rodriguez quietly unlocked the door and peered into the hallway. It was completely empty. Not even security guards patrolling like usual. "Where is everyone?" Kelly asked. They ventured into the corridor. Every classroom they passed was dark and empty. No teachers, no students, no staff. It was like the entire school had been evacuated, but they hadn't received any evacuation orders. Kelly pulled out her phone. 3:15 p.m., the same time the lockdown had started. She looked at the clock on the wall. 3:15 p.m. "Mr. Rodriguez," she whispered, "how long have we been in lockdown?" "About an hour." "Why?" Kelly showed him her phone. "It's still 3:15. They ran to the next classroom. The clock on the wall read 3:15 p.m. Every single clock in the school was frozen at the exact moment the lockdown began. That's when they heard it. The faint sound of the final school bell, echoing through the empty hallways. But it wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Kelly ran to the main exit. The doors wouldn't budge, neither would the emergency exits. Every window was sealed shut, as if they'd been welded closed. "We need to get out of here," Jake said, panic creeping into his voice. But as they turned around, they saw something that made their hearts stop. Students and teachers were walking through the hallways, but something was wrong with them. They moved in perfect unison, their eyes completely black, all heading in the same direction toward Kelly's group. "Run," Mr. Rodriguez whispered. They sprinted back to their classroom and barricaded the door. Outside, they could hear dozens of footsteps stopping right outside their room. Then came a knock, slow and deliberate. "Kelly, Jake, Mr. Rodriguez," came a chorus of voices. "The lockdown is over. You can come out now." But Kelly recognized those voices. They belonged to students who had graduated years ago. Students who shouldn't be in the building. Students who were supposed to be dead. When Kelly's parents finally found her the next morning, she was sitting alone in the empty classroom, staring at the clock that still read 3:15 p.m. She claimed she was trapped for 3 days, but according to everyone else, she had only been missing for 3 hours. To this day, Kelly swears that every day at exactly 3:15 p.m., she can still hear that final bell ringing, calling her back. 3 schools, 3 lockdowns, 3 encounters with something beyond explanation. The next time you hear that lockdown alarm, remember Kelly, Marcus and Em, because sometimes the real horror isn't what's trying to get in, it's what's already there waiting. Sweet dreams.